What's up, everyone? So the Lakers are out of the playoffs. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, that super team that big three super team wasn't able to get the job done, and the writing was all on the wall. The Lakers had a very horrendous record. They couldn't even make the tenth seed to make it to the play-in tournament. So in this video, we're just gonna look at 5 important reasons why the Lakers season went all wrong. So this article is brought to you by Fadeaway World. I've just been looking at these articles and they're actually pretty good. So let's just break it down. So the pain is finally over for Lakers fans around the world. It's in what might be described as one of the worst seasons in franchise history. Actually, it's one of the worst seasons because even with the 2016-2017 season when the Lakers were somewhat tanking, can say like they actually tried to win games. 2017-2018, I believe they had a 35-47 record with when they drafted Kyle Kuzma in the 2017 NBA draft. That time they had Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Clarkson. That roster actually won more games than this actual roster here. So in what might be described as one of the worst seasons in franchise history, the Los Angeles Lakers are officially out of playoff contention after failing to qualify for the play-in tournament. They couldn't even make the 10th seed, so they just couldn't even find a way to even qualify for that spot. So yeah, they were in the 11th seed, despite having three superstars more or less in their primes: LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook. The Lakers players will be watching the postseason from their homes. Cancun. 1-2-3 Cancun. The record as it currently stands is a putrid 31-48 record with the 11th seed in the West. Nobody could have predicted such a poor play at the start of the year. The Lakers were finals or bust. They are supposed to make the finals together with the Nets, but yeah, the whole season just played out the way it did, and you just truly hate to see it. There is absolutely no way the New Orleans Pelicans without Zion Williamson and the Los Angeles Clippers without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and the San Antonio Spurs, devoid of real talent, should be ahead of the Los Angeles Lakers in standing, especially with all the talent that the Lakers had. But anyway, you can see LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, that big three will go down as one of the failed big threes or even failed super teams in the Lakers franchise history. Not to mention the 2012-2013 Lakers where we had Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard, Steve Nash. So yeah, it is what it is. But that fact is true this season, meaning the Lakers are one of the worst teams in the NBA. So what went wrong with the purple and gold? How did the roster filled with so much talent, so many superstars, fail to deliver consistently against good teams and even bad teams? They were just getting beat by, teams that were tanking. And no disrespect to Sacramento, but who are Sacramento? Who are the New Orleans Pelicans, the San Antonio Spurs? Those are the teams that are not supposed to beat us. Okay, the Lakers can get beat by teams like the Suns, the Grizzlies, the Warriors, the Mavericks, but not teams like, the Wolves, the Kings, teams that have no even business even being in the playoffs. Here's what went wrong with the Los Angeles Lakers. So there are 5 reasons. The first reason, Frank Vogel does not deserve his job. So, there's no secret that Frank Vogel will find a new job next year. While it is extremely unfair to coach the 2020 championship team to receive all the blame for, for this disastrous season, he suddenly played a role. Sure, he was not given the tools to succeed. The roster construction from the front office, they were just focused on collecting stars and, putting together a winning championship team and even maintaining that championship core roster that, brought him the 2020 championship. Sure, he was not given the tools. Sure, his second best player missed a ton of games, but a head coach needs to get the best out of his players. And the 11th best record in the West was not acceptable, especially for the Lakers. So Frank Vogel did not, for whatever reason, get his team to play well enough throughout the season. For a defensive-minded coach, Frank's team was simply awful at defending the rim and three-point shots. So you can see the Russell Westbrook trade, when they traded away KCP, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, and some few draft picks for Russell Westbrook, you knew that you're gonna give away some defense in the perimeter. So you trading away and getting a player that is very inefficient and is not a good or even near elite defender, of course your defense is gonna take a hit, and especially AD having injuries. One of the best defenders we had in the Lakers, AD, wasn't able to play. LeBron James, he's asked to do much on offense, so he's not able to commit on defense because he has an offensive role. So it's hard for even to set up any defense. Carmelo Anthony is in the roster. He's not a good defender by any stretch. He was never even an elite. He's never ever been an elite defender. So, the Lakers' defense was just trash this season. He was given former All-Star big in Dwight Howard, who was clearly past his prime, and DeAndre Jordan. These are guys who are done. Okay, Dwight Howard, he can still play, but he has more of a Dennis Rodman role. But DeAndre Jordan, that guy can't even defend the basic pick and roll. So, but neither were reliable at defending the rim. Russ Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony were liabilities throughout the whole season, and nobody had the nerve to convince LeBron to try to play defense because he has other offensive roles, so he has to do that. So overall, the Lakers hired Frank Vogel 2 years ago because of his defensive mind, and the team this year could not carry out those principles. Even if Vogel is not the biggest reason why the Lakers had a poor season, he'll be fired, and deservedly so. So yeah, so Frank Vogel's just being thrown under the bus at this point. The roster was poorly built. That's the second reason. And blame goes to the management, of course. Why would you people trade for Russell Westbrook? If the Lakers had the ability to trade for Russell Westbrook, why didn't they trade for Chris Paul when they had the chance for a Damian Lillard? Because it clearly looked like it wasn't the money issue. It wasn't the cap issue, because they're way over the luxury tax and they're only signing 1-year deal players. So yeah, on paper and in the 2K video game, the Lakers looked primed for a finals appearance. After all, how could a roster feature all this list of Hall of Famers and yet fail? LeBron James, Russ, AD, Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, and Rajon Rondo. Adding in a promising talent in THT, Los Angeles were supposed to be a problem, but the NBA is a young man's league, and the team with the oldest roster is not able to compete in the modern game. So LeBron James is 37, and he doesn't have the capabilities to carry the team into victories out of it nothing. Russ Westbrook is 33, and he's starting his own decline in athleticism, and it was inevitable because this guy is different from his triple-double season, and Dwight Howard is washed, and he's taking a more of a Dennis Rodman role. So yeah, Carmelo, despite his consistent scoring off the bench, is a massive defensive liability because he was never required to be a dominant on-ball defender throughout his career. He was just, his main function was just scoring points in bunches. Rondo is no part of the team, and he was also an awful fit alongside Westbrook and LeBron. So the Lakers brass deserves their blame for a ton of reasons. Firstly, they gave LeBron James the control to make the trade for us Westbrook instead of acquiring DeMar DeRozan or Buddy Hield, who would have helped the team so significantly, especially at DeMar DeRozan, a resurgent DeMar DeRozan in the Chicago Bulls. Secondly, they surrounded the big three with washed players who did little to no defense. Thirdly, they were willing to let go of key two-way players like Alex Caruso, KCP, and Kyle Kuzma. The roster was devoid of energy, youth, and defense, which is why the Lakers were one of the worst teams in the league, especially after the All-Star break. The Lakers brass has failed to build a contender, and they will deserve the bulk of the blame because, if you had the ability to construct a competent roster, you would have. Why did you trade away some key pieces that led you to a championship and just got, so a bunch of role players on 1-year deals? Because, poor roster construction by the front office. So yeah. And the third reason, Anthony Davis' health killed the team yet again. So perhaps if Anthony Davis was healthy for the majority of the season, the Lakers might have held on to a playoff spot. That is not to say that Davis was great when he played, but he made them slightly better. The Lakers were 14-25 without Anthony Davis this season, compared to 17-23 when they're with him. While neither records were impressing, they looked like a slightly more formidable team when AD was on the floor. It is expected that the 6'11 big man who can defend the rim could have made a difference in multiple teams against sub 500 teams that the Lakers lost to without him. So he was actually a very important piece that the Lakers would have needed, because I mean, without him, you're just losing some interior presence, and it's just not a good look. Davis' inability to stay healthy caused chemistry issues that forced Coach Frank Vogel to rely on role players such as Austin Reeves and Malik Monk to do some things on the court. I mean, to be the most consistent pieces on the team outside of LeBron James. So I mean, it was just hard. I mean, losing a guy like Anthony Davis twice, in the postseason in the 2021 postseason, he got injured in the first round, lost in 6 games to the Phoenix Suns. This season, he's not that healthy, and hopefully next season he's going to be healthy and be able to ready to go, because the Lakers really need him. Yeah, I mean, LeBron James was spectacular on offense. There's the second reason. Now there's the fourth reason. There's no doubt that LeBron James was spectacular on the offensive end of the floor, putting up 30 points per game on 52% shooting from the field, 39% from deep. The King had an extra spring in his step on offense this season and will easily be an All-NBA first or second team member at the end of the year. We have not seen a player age at 37 and be able to score like this. So this is a testament to his greatness and also a GOAT. But James was mainly an offensive machine, not necessarily a winning figure on his side. At age 37, he gets a pass in that regarding, because he just gets a pass because not many players are expected to be and do whatever he's doing at this point. I mean, at 37, many players are on the decline. Many players are, retired. They are doing other things. And being in his, I think, 19th season, I mean, what he's doing is just phenomenal. So he's top 3 in the scoring title. And just recently, Joel Embiid is actually going to take that. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So, but the roster that he was given, he had to show up offensively. He showed up defensively, they would have lost worse even than they had lost it. So then, and last but not least, choosing Russell Westbrook over DeMar DeRozan and Buddy Hield was a big mistake. I mean, this was the worst thing that the Lakers ever did. I mean, let me just go off in a tangent just to say this. If the Lakers, and I've just kept saying this, if the Lakers had the ability to trade for Russell Westbrook, what stopped them from trading for a Chris Paul or a Damian Lillard? That type of player. Because getting a Russell Westbrook is a liability on offense. Anybody who knows anything about basketball will readily admit Russell Westbrook had arguably the worst season of his career as a Los Angeles Laker. After getting traded by the Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, and Washington Wizards, the Lakers truly felt that they could get the best out of a ball-dominant point guard with a below-average shooting ability, inefficient. We saw how Russell Westbrook fails to get along with other ball-dominant players, so trusting a 37-year-old LeBron James to somehow fix that was absolutely ridiculous. Russell Westbrook's statistics look decent on paper: 18 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, but he is only shooting 29% from 3 and 66% from the free throw line. Not only is Russ arguably the worst 3-point shooter in the league, but he also struggles to make free throws at an average clip at best. I mean, most importantly, Russ has a tendency to kill team chemistry by missing shots so badly and turning the ball over. This year, Russ Westbrook is averaging 3.8 turnovers. That's like 4 turnovers, and leading the NBA in total turnovers, which is officially a very bad stat to lead at. A turnover-prone, ball-dominant point guard without a 3-point shot is the worst possible teammate for LeBron James. Yet he was taking over DeMar DeRozan and Buddy Hield. And DeMar DeRozan, mind you, is having a very good season with Chicago Bulls. And Buddy Hield, I mean, we just missed out on that big time. So we could have got a good 3-point shooter in Buddy Hield and a guy who on ball and off ball could have been more efficient, especially shooting from the mid range. So the Lakers took a big L in trading for Russell Westbrook. Not to mention Westbrook's post-game comments and lack of responsibility for his play have also convinced almost every Laker fan that he's not built for this franchise. Once again, it comes down to the Lakers management for signing off on Russell Westbrook thanks to LeBron James' input instead of a superstar scorer in DeMar DeRozan and a 3-point specialist in Hield. There's no doubt that DeMar DeRozan All-NBA team perform averaging 28 points per game on 50% shooting from the field, and Buddy Hield 15 points per game and 36% shooting from the three-point line would have made the team better. Instead, having Russell Westbrook on the team killed the Lakers' chances before even the season even started. And the Lakers, they had a very poorly built roster. Davis injuries, Vogel's poor coaching, and LeBron's age just piled on top of the disastrous Lakers season that had resulted in a lack of postseason action. I mean, why would you trade for Russell Westbrook? That's the question that I saw. And one thing that I have seen the Lakers do is just try to just get as many superstars as possible to LA, just a way to, just make the city, just make the franchise look better. And what did it get you? Where did it get you? How did it work out for you, Lakers? Because right now you're out of the playoffs and you're a laughing stock. And I mean, it's just a disappointing season. I just hope that it's either Russell Westbrook gets traded. I saw the report saying that the Charlotte Hornets are interested, and I don't know what they're getting from Russell Westbrook. Maybe it's because of Michael Jordan and because Westbrook is signed to a Jordan brand deal for shoes. But getting rid of a Russell Westbrook is a necessity for the Lakers. Running it back is not an option for the Lakers. They need to get rid of that contract and get rid of that $47 million player option that Russell Westbrook is going to opt in, and just trade him away or even just buy him out, because at this point he's eating all the cap space and the Lakers lack a cap space, and that's why they're signing 1-year deals. And we're not even guaranteed that these 1-year deal guys are gonna re-sign with the Lakers after a poor season. So yeah, it is what it is. So those are the reasons why the Lakers had a poor season, and if they don't make the changes this offseason, expect the same. They can't run it back with the same roster. They have to change up things. So the Lakers need to make some very tough decisions this offseason to make sure that they put themselves in a place where they can win games. So yeah, that's your article, brought to you by Fadeaway World. I actually like reading Fadeaway World articles. It's been a while since I reacted to one of these, but I'll be making sure to be dropping them regularly in the channel. So if you guys like the video, make sure to leave your feedback down in the comments section on what you feel about the Lakers season. The NBA playoffs are just right around the corner. But before the NBA playoffs, we have the play-in tournament. And, subscribe to the channel, turn on notification posts so that you never miss any new videos I'm coming out with. And I'm out. Peace.